Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm going to be using a stamp set from Concord and Ninth called Celebrations, and I'm showing you the dies that coordinate with the stamp set, but I actually won't be using the dies today. So I'm going to start out with my cardstock that's cut to a standard size card. I will cut it down later, but that's the size I'm using right now. And I put it in my MISTI tool all the way to the very bottom. And I'm stamping the striped pattern stamp in some Simon Says Stamp Fog ink. And I'm going to slide this paper over, and then I'm going to stamp it again. This is going to make that entire striped image almost double the size. And the ink is going to overlap in the center, and it'll be a little bit darker for now. But like I mentioned in the past, and like many of you have discovered, this particular formula of ink really settles into the cardstock and dries back. So it really won't be too noticeable in the end that I have a darker stripe down the center. So I'm going to re-stamp these stripes one more time just to make sure they're nice and dark and make sure that all those areas are filled in. And because I'm moving my cardstock just back and forth and lining it up with the edge of that white grid paper underneath, I'm making sure that I have the same exact positioning for each time that I'm stamping. This is a really easy way to kind of extend the length of stamps. So if you have kind of like a shorter border stamp, you could do something similar to this to get it to be longer. So now I'm going to use some Pear Tart pigment ink from Memento Luxe, and I've actually masked off the bottom. I'm going to show you two different ways to mask the bottom here. First is to put the Post-it tape on the stamp while you're masking. And then the other way, I'm going to show you here in a minute, is to actually put the masking tape on your project instead of the stamp. And this way it makes sure that the actual stamping area is only what you want it to be. So I placed that Post-it tape on that area, positioning the stamp. And then I'm going to go ahead and swing over that door on the MISTI to pick up the stamp. And this time I'm going to be using a yellow color of pigment ink, also from Memento Luxe. This is Dandelion. And I'm going to ink up that stamp really well. And then I'll be stamping it over. My idea for this card was to create a birthday card and have these patterns create presents. Now, this stamp set is, like I showed at the beginning of the video, it actually coordinates with that die set, which I'll try to link to a video from Concord and Ninth where they show you how to use that die set. But basically, the die creates an interlocking mechanism on the front of your card, and then it creates a gift or present. So that's where I got the idea to use these patterns to create a gift with them. But in this case, I'm not using the dies. I just wanted to create the kind of look of some presents on the front of this card. So I used some Versafine Onyx Black ink to stamp that "It's All About You" greeting. And now I'm going to use the pink color from Memento Luxe. This is Rosebud, and I'm going to be using that for the word today. So in whole, or when it's finished, this greeting will say, "Today it's all about you," which I think is kind of fun for a birthday card because you want to make the birthday person feel special, and today's their day. So I thought that was kind of a fun greeting. So I'm going to punch some holes on this stamped area here, and then I'm eventually going to be taking some baker's twine and tying it through the cardstock and creating an actual bow on the top of each of these presents. So I'm punching 2 holes on the smaller gifts on each side, and then I've punched 4 on that larger gift in the middle because I need to have the string skip that greeting area in the center. So I'm taking some black and white baker's twine, and it was a little bit hard to get it to go through that cardstock on its own, so I'm actually going to use a needle and just thread that through just long enough so I can have a little aid or a little assistance in getting this thread through. And I'm going to have it go through the bottom middle hole and then back up and through again. Kind of hard to describe, but you guys can see on screen the exact order of how I threaded the baker's twine. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this through, and then I'll trim it off and then tie it in a bow. And I had lots of extra string, so I had to trim off the ends here. And then I'm going to switch it up and change to a different color of baker's twine for the other two presents. This baker's twine is gray and white. It's also just a little bit thinner because it's from a different company, different brand of baker's twine. But I basically did the same exact thing. I just tied that string through the cardstock. I'm going to trim this down, and I'm going to make it a little bit more narrow. So it's actually going to be 5 1/4 inches wide. And I also made it a little bit shorter because I thought it'd be fun to add some glitter paper on the bottom. So I'm cutting a little strip of some black glitter paper from American Crafts, and I'm cutting it to 5 1/4, which is the length of the stamped piece. And I'm going to be adhering it right underneath the stamped area. So I'm putting some Ranger multimedia matte on the top edge of that strip. I'm using my grid mat to help me line this up and make sure that I get a finished height of 4 inches tall. So I've actually come up from the bottom of the grid mat a little bit and starting at the 1 inch mark. So I lined it up with the 5 inch mark to make sure that that entire height was 4 inches. For my card base, I'm using some Nina Desert Storm cardstock, and I've scored that at 5 1/2 to create a side folding landscape card. I'll press that stamped piece down. I just used some 3M foam tape to do that. And then I decided I wanted to add a little bit more pink onto this. So I cut a little strip of cardstock, and I'm using that Rosebud pigment ink once again to color this strip, and then I can adhere it onto the front of my card. I'm using that same adhesive, the Ranger Multimedia Matte. And then I can press down this skinny strip of pink, it's now pink cardstock. So go ahead and press that down. That's the finished card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think this is kind of a fun idea for any of those kind of patterned stamps you might have that come with other stamp sets. I think it's be really fun. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.